Hello everyone, welcome to my Resident Evil 6 No Hope difficulty, no life cube loss walkthrough, and this is chapter 4 of Ada's campaign. And by the way, do not double tap X on these doors, you've got to just tap X so that you just open the doors slowly. And if you want to cancel the animation faster, just aim during the animation. And the reason why you want to do this is if you double tap X on these doors, the enemies can actually hear you and they'll come after you, and you do not want to engage in combat on this section, because if you do, you will spawn in like 2 or 3 enemies that will serve as reinforcements. It's just a waste of ammo, and there's no need for that. Just try to do this stealthily, do not double tap X on these doors, and you'll be fine. And also, by the way, when you're trying to pick up these keys, you'll want to always roll or slide into the keys and then tap square, so that you can skip the animation that Ada does, where she tries to scan the code using her phone. And then do not rush these sections right here. If any of these enemies are looking at you, they will spawn in reinforcements. Just snipe them at a distance using your crossbow, or if they give you their back, just take them out using a context-sensitive melee attack. And that guy right there that I just shot, I did have a moment where I was hiding around the corner and he somehow spotted me. And he seemed to spot me the moment I decided to jog a bit. That's odd, considering that the enemies aren't supposed to hear you when you jog into them or sprint into them. Maybe it's when you're behind them. If you're jogging or sprinting behind them, they don't seem to hear you, but if you're jogging right in front of them, I think they can hear you. And also right here, I think I spawned in reinforcements just then, because that guy, I didn't kill him instantly. Because you'll notice right here, while I'm dealing with this enemy, another Juavo sneaks up right behind me and starts to attack me. And I'm surprised there weren't more reinforcements. I guess this was the only reinforcement associated with the guy that I failed to kill instantly. And this cutscene right here, this cutscene will trigger regardless of what you do. So even if you try to kick the green-eyed Juavo out into the hallway and then kill him that way, it will still cause this cutscene to trigger. This Nascobanji has now stolen the passcode, so we have to find him and take him out. And he mostly appears in this general area right here. And when you're trying to take out this guy, try to use your normal crossbow bolts. This guy is always going to be a bisected Nascobanji with its upper torso, and the bisected Nascobanji with the upper torso is probably the most dangerous variant of the Nascobanji in my opinion, because it moves so fast, it's very hard to stun unless you have high-powered weapons. And it does a jump attack that it seems to mainly do when it's at close range, making it almost impossible to dodge. And predicting the timing on the counter is incredibly difficult to do. So do not try to take a chance, just keep your distance and fire your normal crossbow bolts in order to incapacitate this guy. And once he's down, you're free to pick up the passcode. And this is the cutscene that you have to see every time you try to pick up these passcodes without sliding or rolling. And then we're going to come across this encounter right here, where we're going to be trapped temporarily, and we have to dispatch this one Nascobanji that's attacking us. I mean, it's a time sequence, not a kill-based sequence, and you can't even kill these enemies. It's just, you have to incapacitate them, and then they regenerate after a certain amount of time, which is a very long time. But I'm about to show you a really cool trick that I discovered on accident while I was recording this. So you need to roll like this after he does that strike, and stay right here. The moment he decides to do that animation there, you've got to roll. And the forward momentum on that attack will cause him to be hit by the fire, and it will incapacitate him. Only on this recording, for some unknown reason, I only get the bottom half incapacitated. Normally it's supposed to be all of them, yet somehow the bottom half was the only one that got incapacitated, and I had to deal with the top half by repeating the same strategy again. And if he was slithering towards me, he would have most likely done his jump attack, and it would have been very hard to avoid. But because he was just crawling towards me, it means he was most likely going to do his strike animation, where he just tries to do this horizontal strike against you, and the forward momentum betrayed him. And that right there is a very rare possibility of getting that Nascobanji inside that room, and then having him bust down the door. And if this happens, try your best to avoid the Nascobanji. That right there is very close, but I managed to pull through. Do not mess around with these LMG Juavo. Just make sure that you do not get in their line of sight, because they have perfect aim, they do so much damage to you, they stun lock you to death, and they're just a nuisance enemy. They're a nightmare enemy. I do not like that enemy, but I was able to deal with it easily. And now that we have all 3 of the passcodes, we can get out of here. And the rest of this is all stealth. And I gotta respect the pacing on the Ada's campaign for actually trying to diversify the gameplay. And don't worry so much about doors, because you're not really going to be put into any situation where you're going to be opening doors. And bearing that in mind, just follow exactly what I do in the stealth section and you'll be fine. But you'll notice that I have different loot. It's because I had to re-record this chapter again for some really stupid reasons. Or not really stupid reasons, just one reason entirely. So I don't know why, but my original recording of Chapter 4 was corrupted. The beginning and end portions of my original video clip were working perfectly, but the middle part of my clip was corrupted. This was the only video clip in my entire capture gallery that had this issue. I don't know why this happened, but it's so stupid that it happened. And it's another variant of that issue I had when I was recording in .mp4 format, where either my full video clip would be corrupted, or the ending part of my video clip would be corrupted. And it's happened again, only I'm not even recording in MP4, I'm recording in WebM, and this is the only clip that got corrupted. And it's the middle part of my clip that got corrupted. My beginning and end part, perfect. But for some reason, the middle part of my clip just got corrupted. I have no idea what is causing this issue, but it's unacceptable. I don't know how the PS5 captures gameplay, but there's clearly some kind of internal issue happening, or something on my end must have possibly triggered this issue. It's just, I don't know how to report the problem to Sony, but I need to report this issue, because if this is happening to other people, then it has to be reported, surely. That being said, though, at least this issue only happened during a section of a game that I don't use a lot of ammo for, so it doesn't impact the flow of my walkthrough significantly, and that's why I'm just going to use my original recording of Chapter 5 for the next video, and I'm just going to use this updated version of Chapter 4, and that's all I'm going to say on that tangent. It's dumb, but I'm just going to move on to a different tangent. So, I love this chapter, guys. I expressed in Chapter 3 that this is probably my favorite chapter in the game, and you might be thinking, well, it's just a bunch of stealth sequences, though, and there's not a lot of enemies. How can you like this chapter? Well, it's because of the boss that you encounter at the end. Carla is definitely one of my favorite fights in this game, and a lot of people hate her because she's a gimmick fight, but just because it's a gimmick fight doesn't mean it's a bad fight. A gimmick fight just requires a different kind of mentality in order to actually judge it. Like, if the other aspects of this gimmick fight are great, then that actually gives reason for the gimmick fight to be cool. Like, the other aspects present with Carla, for instance, like, the atmosphere is so, like, scary, and then the music itself actually feels scary, and a lot of people might think, no, it's just action music, but if you can't actually see the scariness present within that music, then you are no kind of connoisseur of survival horror, and I feel so tuned with the survival horror aspect in this section that it resonates with me so well. And this fight also presents with our Resident Evil design that I'm going to talk about when I get to the very end of this fight. But this fight is almost like therapy for me. It just helps me reassure my belief in what survival horror really is. Like, this feels scarier than anything in the older Resident Evil games before Resident Evil 4. Like, this right here is what Resident Evil is. This actually feels like it properly personifies exactly what Resident Evil is the master of: action and survival horror. And it all comes full circle in this penultimate showdown with Carla. And this I consider to be one of the scariest moments in Resident Evil 6 by far. Like, just looking at this right now, it doesn't seem like it, but it's all a matter of feeling it. Like, you gotta feel this section in the right way to actually really appreciate the designs that went in place. I think the subtlety involved with the survival horror aspect in this section is done really well. This right here is a section designed by old Capcom, and this whole entire game is designed by old Capcom, despite some very bad issues. But this right here, I think old Capcom knew exactly what they were doing when they designed this, and it's a great example of how Resident Evil in this generation did not try to rely so much on the mainstream audience to inform its future decisions. It stayed true to itself, and it really paid off in the end with this delivery of this boss fight. And like I said, this is just therapeutic with me. I oftentimes just turn off all the audio except for the music, and I just play through this section. I mean, just looking at the atmosphere right now, it really gives off that claustrophobic, dark feeling that you normally get from typical survival horror games. And it's just done in a different sort of way with this boss fight. Like, this right here is Resident Evil in its design. And furthermore, just the way you deal the final blow to Carla is a Resident Evil design all in its own, because there's actually a really cool trick you can do to kill Carla in one hit, and I'm going to demonstrate it in a moment. In this part of the fight, the game is going to force you to use your machine pistol after this sequence, and that crate will always have machine pistol ammo inside of it. And you're going to take mandatory damage from a liquid nitrogen tank. It will take off 1 life cube, but it's mandatory damage. Just don't take damage in the other parts, and you'll actually satisfy this requirement that I'm going for. So right here, aim for the left liquid nitrogen tank. You can aim for the right one as well. Either way, you're still going to take damage. Whatever, who cares? Mandatory damage moments, I'm okay with them so long as they don't impact the overall flow of the gameplay, and I have plenty of herbs. And this right here, this is where the Resident Evil design is going to show itself, and you need to have either a grenade or explosive bolts. I had one grenade, and if you time your grenade throw properly and you aim for the liquid nitrogen tank that's sitting in the back area on the right, you will be able to kill Carla instantly. And you have to make sure that when you throw the grenade, it detonates after it gives you the objective to defeat Carla. So right here, this is the perfect time to throw it, and watch this. That right there is why I love the good Resident Evil games, because a true Resident Evil game will always embrace designs like that, rewarding skill, rewarding saving your ammunition, because that's exactly what survival horror is, saving your ammunition to do these really cool moments, and rewarding those with a keen eye who are actually able to observe their situation properly. Like, there is nothing wrong with this fight. This right here is one of the best parts of the game, and what a fantastic way to conclude Carla's arc, and actually giving some form of merit to Ada's character. Like, Ada really grows in this game, and I think she has the best development ever out of all the Resident Evil games that feature her. This is just one of the things that they did in this game to do Ada justice. What a fantastic section. It does survival horror well, it has Resident Evil designs, it has memorable music, and it allows me to really connect with Carla and feel all the hatred that she has towards Derek and humanity. There are not many games that I can emotionally connect to, but this game is definitely an exception. This has been Chapter 4. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.